Hello and welcome to another edition of Santos on Sports with my good friend and partner in crime, Chris Santos. I am Paul Santos. Welcome in. Lots to talk about today. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Scotty's Pub, Citywide Glass, Lakeville Athletic Club, and attorney John Seed of New Bedford for helping us out here on Santos on Sports. First of all, Chris, how are you? Happy holidays.
Hey, happy holidays, Paul, and happy holidays to everyone out there watching our show. Wish you a great week of college football, NFL football, obviously NBA on Christmas Day. A lot going on this week, Paul. I know we haven't had a show in a little bit of time. It give us a chance to rejuvenate the batteries a little bit. But we come up with a big question because it's been a talk around here now, Paul, for the last couple of weeks, and it is obviously about head coach Mayo of the New England Patriots. And the question is not just by us, but it's been out there, in the New England area. Do they fire Mayo at the end of the season?
Right. And do you think they should?
Yeah, it's an interesting question because as not a New England fan, but know a lot of New England fans, when you expect high expectations in winning and you're not having it for this year, and obviously you've made a quick change, how do you think it's going to happen? And obviously who's the first person to go is usually the head coach. Now, that being said, for me personally on this matter, they wanted Bill out. They got Bill out. They wanted a new look. They got a new look. So in this 1 year experiment, is this something that you can say, well, what do we put in front of him? If I'm not wrong, I think he was hired end of March. And then the draft came in April. And so he didn't have a long time to, get situated other than to say, I need a quarterback. But maybe even the rest of the draft and some free agency and different things. So I'm going to use a quote from the great Bill Parcells. If they want you to go cook the dinner, Paul, at least they ought to let you shop for some of the groceries. So I'm curious to see if they keep him, how much will he be involved in this next draft and obviously free agent and getting Kraft to spend money on better players to get this team back where they belong. So I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no on the firing. I think this has been thrown on him, right from the beginning. Have they played competitive? At times. Have they played poorly? At times. Has there been some coaching issues? Absolutely. In some of his decision-making, along with him and Van Pelt. Somebody said there's some dissension between the two. Sometimes get thrown on the bus, all kinds of things. Yeah, a lot of that's going on. But that happens with anybody when you're losing. Ask Mike McCarthy and some of these other coaches when you're not winning on great organization and franchises. But I don't think they fire him. I think they keep him. They may maybe make some people come on board like a Vrabel or something else to help out. I'm not sure. But I think he stays. And they're going to give him at least another year where he is fresh to do all the things that's possible for him to do because he wasn't able to do that this year.
I got to tell you, I'm in agreement with you here. I wasn't sure which way you were going to go on this. I know you've got a lot of background in sports and a lot of background in coaching. You know the old saying, you can't make a chicken salad out of what.
Yep.
So they put him in a tough spot. The roster was terrible.
Correct.
He does have a good quarterback now, although we do see some things that concern me a little bit about the quarterback. We can get into that in a few minutes. But, they put him in a tough position. Just at the beginning of the year, when he said that the offensive coordinator was the head coach of the offense, just that right there, I was like, what do you mean he's the head coach of the offense? I mean, what does that mean? He calls all the shots with the offense? Well, he can call most of the shots. But you know how in some of these games, Belichick used to say that, and I think all the coaches say that. The offensive coordinator is calling a game, and then it comes down to that 4th and 1, and you want to get that 1 yard. The head coach says, hey, Mr. Offensive Coordinator, let's run a sneak here. Or hey, Mr. Offensive Coordinator, let's get the ball into the end zone here. Hey, Mr. Offensive Coordinator, let's make sure that the quarterback doesn't get sacked or throw an interception because we got 3 points in the bank here. Just little things like that. I mean, I think they kind of put him in a position to fail. And yes, you were talking about the famous Bill Parcells quote, I want to be able to get the groceries.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think if you're going to have this person be the head coach, and there was something about Gerard Mayo, that the owner really liked. There was something about him. He had like a feeling about this particular person. You got to have him involved in building the team. You can't have somebody else building the team. Somebody else is in charge of the offense. The other guy's kind of in charge of the defense. It doesn't feel like he's really like calling the shots. You know what I mean? So, and again, to change it now, who are you going to get? You're going to put Vrabel in there? I mean, he's pretty good, but now that you made the decision, I think you got to give him at least one more year, spend some money, have him participate in the decision-making process, and have him be the real head coach. Because I think that kind of tied his hands a little bit. Now, having said that, you're right. Every once in a while, there's a boneheaded decision or something, and I go, what the heck's he doing here, He tried to be a little too friendly with the media, That decision to have the onside kick, I mean, the game was almost over anyway. But I was thinking to myself, okay, save the 3 timeouts, save the 3 timeouts. Get in the end zone before you have to use the 3 timeouts. And he kicks an onside kick that has a 0.001% chance of succeeding. I mean, you probably weren't going to stop Allen. Allen ran one ball and they get the first down anyway. And then that little sideways pass, that pass that resulted in that was a lateral. I mean, I'm looking at that play in your own 10-yard line. What the hell are we calling that for? And then as far as the quarterback, hey, that pass that was an interception, he's starting to show like some signs of being Tony Romo, or some signs of being Phil Rivers. He gets you like right to here, and then I think it's too early to tell. Hey, this quarterback is really talented. I'm really happy with him. I'm really excited about him. I think he's going to be a great quarterback in the league. Everybody says that and all that, but I don't know. The turnovers are concerning me a little bit. Again, he doesn't have the help around him, but we always talk about the elite of the elite. They get to that certain point, hit factor and all that. I mean, when you get to that moment, you got to be able to make a play and make a good decision. And I think, Drake May has shown some weaknesses. But as far as firing Mayo, I know there are people who say, fire Mayo, fire Mayo. What the hell are you talking about? Fire Mayo. I don't know. I'm not sure that would be the right decision now to start all over again.
It's very difficult. I'm going to go back to what you had said earlier about decision-making. And you've talked about decision-making with your offensive coordinator. That's got to be done before the game, Paul. And then you got to let him write it out during the game. It's very difficult with a clock counting down 35 seconds on every play. And Alex Van Pelt makes a call, and then you go, whoa, wait a minute. I don't want that play. I want this play instead. And then, you're going back and forth. I don't see coaches really doing that when you only have 35 seconds. You have to find a way to trust your offensive coordinator. And then when it doesn't go right, I don't think you can throw him under the bus either. And I think Mayo has done that a couple of times in some situations. And you got more to worry about, with clock management and some different other things, and fourth down if you're going to go for a lot of things than just play calling. So play calling is a whole thing on its own. And so I can understand why coaches let, coaches do that unless you're the head coach and the play caller as well. So, that one's a tough one. I think they need to work that out to the best that they can. And hopefully they will. But, yeah, I agree. Take a look at the draft picks from this year. Besides Drake May, Polk has been a bust. Then came Wallace. Now, Wallace played like the first 3 games, I believe, and then he got hurt. And he hasn't played since. So we don't know about him. The other guy hasn't played at all. The other wide receiver, he hasn't played. They got a cornerback. He's played in 7 games. He's made like 2 tackles. So this draft has not been very good at all, besides getting May, who is, I believe, their quarterback of the future. And now it's to, put the pieces around the puzzle, get the other groceries to make that good dinner and get it ready for this year. So, yeah, I think it's a lot to pile in on just Mayo and say, okay, guy, it didn't work out. You're out of here. I have to agree with you. I think it's going to last at least another year.
All right, what do you think? 774 218 3393. Linda Ritalik, that's a new viewer. Thank you very much for looking in. And the question, should the quarterback, not the quarterback, no, the head coach, should the head coach, Gerard Mayo, be fired? She says, absolutely not. Give him a chance, And so I think she's kind of in agreement with us that he really does deserve a second year. And you talk about that roster, and the draft picks and what was left over. I mean, there were some good players left over, but, Belichick had some bad drafts too. And then now they had another bad draft except for Drake May, which was really a no-brainer. And you look at some of the other teams, I'm a big fan of the Washington Commanders quarterback there, Daniels. Yep. And he seems to have a little bit of an it factor. We were joking back and forth about the it factor. But, their draft was much better than the Patriots draft. Look at all the players that are playing on the Commanders that they got in the draft. I mean, the draft is the key to rebuilding a team.
Well, it is. And I just gave you the list of players that the Patriots had. And obviously Polk has not showed up yet. Now, does that mean they're going to get rid of him and get something for him? Does that mean, they're going to give him another chance next year? We'll have to wait and see on that. Wallace is just coming back. They might take a look at him in these last couple of games just to see what they think he can do and then get him ready for next year. Strange hasn't played all year. There's a lot going on up there in New England that really needs to be fixed. So just to hit, Mayo with it all, very difficult. And, you had 20 years of success. You had a couple that were so-so. And now, this is a big spiral this year. So, everybody's looking for instant gratification. So the first thing you do is you look at the head coach. So it's his first year, but I think he stays. I think he'll be back next year.
Well, the interesting thing, too, is that, you look at Bill Belichick, right? The so-called greatest coach of all time. Now, I know there's some debate about that because when he didn't have Brady, he was under 500. We go down that whole rabbit hole. But, he only won 4 games with a similar roster. Now, you can say, well, he had some players. This guy's got some players that were better. I don't know. I don't think, except for the quarterback, I don't think the roster is that much better now than it was when Belichick was there. So if Belichick can only win 4 games, how can we expect this brand new coach to win more than that? You know what I mean? So I think, I think that's another way to look at it. And before you respond, Chris, we do have a caller, so let's get the first caller in. It's one of our favorites, Ryan from Rochester. Good evening.
Hey guys, how's it going?
What's going
Ryan,
on?
how are we doing?
I have a feeling that he has a different opinion.
you know, this is gonna be. I feel like I'm gonna be kind of mirroring Gerard Mayo in some of these press conferences. Maybe a little bit of a walk back here because I'm sure you can tell from our text exchanges that I get very very emotional when it comes to watching this team. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of come around a little bit from what we were talking about yesterday. And one thing I think the question is a bit of a moot point. So I don't think he's going to get fired, and I kind of come around on the fact that I don't think he should be either. A lot of my anger, it's more towards the crafts and just the way that they kind of did this whole off-season process to begin with. Like one again, I'm also a little biased because I wanted Mike Vrabel here, and I don't want to become a New York Jet, which feels more likely by the minute. But the thing that just irked me, it was just the fact that they didn't even do a due process in doing outside interviews with someone like a Mike Vrabel. They just kind of elevate, like the snarky side of me says it's like you just kind of elevated a bunch of guys from a 4-win team and thought that would solve a bunch of issues, and then of course kind of pissed at Elliott Wolf for the quite honestly kind of a porous draft so far. I guess we'll have to see how Caden Wallace plays at right tackle, but I've come around since yesterday. Then after some volatile and angry text in our group chat, but I don't think he should be fired, and I don't think he's going to either.
Ryan, let me ask you this question. We know how many wins they have. If it's not Mayo, and let's say it was a Sean Payton, would they have more wins than what they have now? Because if you say yes, and you say they'd have maybe 6 or 7 because of that, now I would start to issue about having a problem with this head coach because he's not doing that. That creates wins. If you tell me, no, I think it'd probably be around similar, maybe 1, then I go, okay, I'll agree with that, and Mayo should stay. But if you think that there was other coaches that would have done a better job in what has happened right now and won more games with this roster, and the games that you've seen from 3 wins and maybe they'd have 6 or 7, then I start to criticize, well, maybe he should go because of things like that. What do you think?
So I think that someone like a Sean Payton or Mike Vrabel, like I mentioned, I think it would be slightly better. Somewhere around maybe like you mentioned, maybe 6 wins. I'd probably go around 5 or 6 maybe. Mainly because I feel like a more experienced staff
right
there wouldn't be so much of a defensive drop off because at the very least the run defense was much better this year. So I'd say the main coach that I criticize is DeMarcus Covington and still Mayo to a degree because I feel like he could take more ownership of that side of the ball, considering the fact that he was elevated from the same staff that put together a pretty good defense without Christian Gonzalez and without Matthew Judon last year. So I think more experience on the staff. Some of the clock management issues would be cleaned up. Some of the decision making on 4th downs, give or take maybe some of the play calling would be slightly tightened up. But at the end of the day, like you can only win so much with the roster that looks like this, and that falls on Elliott Wolf.
Okay.
Well, I was going to say, I know that in the group text, you were coming on the side of, that said, I can't stand watching this crap, fire this guy, start over again, rip it up. What kind of a stupid call is that? What the heck's he doing over here? That's it, And then, we're sports fans. We get a little fired up. So then, you're supposed to reflect a little bit. So now you reflected on it a little bit. You're like, all right, maybe I'm going to walk this back a little bit. But, there's a lot of decisions that are suspect because he's a rookie coach. But the problem is, if you rip it up and start from scratch, you're basically taking this year and throwing it away. Maybe the head coach can improve a little bit. Maybe if he had a better roster, maybe next year they give him a little more power. I think there are some adjustments that they can make going into next year.
I agree with that. I would also bring up the idea of maybe enhancing the coaching staff a little bit, like maybe not even blowing out both coordinators, but maybe adding someone else aside from Ben McAdoo with some head coaching experience, get an assistant head coach in there, help them out with some of the management stuff, and then even on defense, sound like a senior defensive assistant maybe.
Do you think Van Pelt leaves?
I hope he doesn't. I don't know why. Play calling is iffy here and there, but I still think he's done a pretty good job considering the fact that the offensive line is still terrible and the receiving core is what it is, one of the worst in the league. So I hope he sticks because I feel like he's the one who's accomplished the most on this staff. That part I still stand by. I still feel like he's accomplished the most on the staff in terms of getting Drake May ready and. Even though the overall numbers, if they're last in the league in so many categories, but you can see incremental improvements and scoring 21 against this Buffalo team. And I know they can be scored on, but it's I still say with this line and this receiver core, 21 points against this Buffalo team, it's still an improvement.
Let me ask you about Drake May. I'm a big Drake May fan. I mean, I'm so excited about him. When he first came in and he took over the quarterback position, I was really blown away at what he looks like. When you're watching the game, if you walked into the living room and you're not really a big sports fan, but you're kind of really super casual fan, and you saw this guy, you wouldn't think he was a rookie. You'd be like, wow, look at this guy. He's comfortable. He doesn't get panicky. He seems to be able to adjust and move around and ad-lib plays if he has to. And he was a little bit more careful this week. I don't think he was taking as many hits. But here's the thing, right? I'm just getting a little worried about the interceptions and the turnovers because, look, I'm glad that he's more aggressive than, Brissett. and I'm glad they're letting him throw the ball and they're letting him, do what he needs to do. But, when we get the ball in that last minute, last 2 or 3 minutes, and again, I hate to keep focusing on the last 2 or 3 minutes. I do it with the basketball, I do it with the football. He's starting to show that he makes all these great plays until you need that one last great play, And I don't want to put that on him because, the kid is young. He's 21, 22. He's probably thinking to himself, okay, that little lateral that I made, the next time I wouldn't do that. The next time I'm looking in the end zone and, there's a miscommunication, I'll throw the ball out of bounds and kick the field goal. I'll try not to take the sack if I don't have to take the sack. So maybe he'll evolve, but I'm starting to get a little worried about that. What do you think about our quarterback?
I'm still think that there's a lot of promise here. I've been super impressed. I thought he would kind of look like a shell almost, because he was getting pounded so much. And I know the interceptions are certainly worrying, but at the same time, this is one of the worries about being behind this offensive line. Having these receivers to work with. It feels like there's almost nothing easy. So I feel like he's still kind of in the college habit of like having to play hero ball and having to, pull something out of his ass, but pretty much to kind of, make up for the talent deficiency there. But the thing we have to remember too, like, they brought it, I call this, kind of fake competitive towards the end. But, they brought it to, 21-24 with a couple of minutes left in the game, and they had a chance to stop it and maybe get the ball back, and let's see how it goes. But, the run defense kind of succumbed again, and we never got a chance to see. But I think there's definitely a bunch of things to clean up, and stuff like this will happen with a rookie quarterback. It's very unusual that you're going to have like a CJ Stroud type where it's going to be almost flawless. But I think there's a lot of promise there. I'm excited.
I'm different here, Paul, because I'm a big quarterback guy, and this kid's not a gunslinger, but then again, he's not an interception threat like Jameis Winston. And, when you're trying to create scoring opportunities, you can get, a ball deflected. You can have an offensive line that's letting people in. You could have blitz protections that they don't pick up. You got to move on the spur of the moment. And for what I've seen from this kid, I'm pretty impressed with what he has done with the talent that he's got blocking for him. He's been able to run away from pressure sometimes. Sometimes maybe guys have dropped balls on him that have hurt him. You've had guys that have gone up for balls, deflect off their fingers, ball gets picked off. Not really his fault. You got guys might run a wrong route. He thinks they're going to be there, and they went somewhere else. Next thing you know, it gets picked off. There's a lot of different ways to look at that. I think he's played exceptionally well for what's been around him and the team they've put together in front of him to try to help and protect him, block for him, and everything else. So in that part, I have high hopes for him to continue to be successful. They just have to find a way now to sit back and say, okay, let's get these groceries. Let's build that offensive line. Let's get healthy. Let's get guys who can catch the ball for them. Let's get that running game. Stop turnovers. Let's get back to New England Patriot football. If they do, I think they got a good one.
When you talk about running the wrong route, that may have been what happened in that interception when May was trying to get the ball to Hooper. And
because of course, there was nobody there.
Yeah, he can't go on there and say, hey, the guy ran the wrong route. It was miscommunication. Yeah. So, maybe when he is more of a veteran, he'd be able to see that, or, who knows what. But, I think you're right. I've been super impressed with the quarterback. I wasn't sure what we had because I didn't want to play him at first. He played a couple of preseason games. I didn't really notice anything. But once he got in there, wow, he looks like a veteran out there. He really does. For most of the game, he looks like a veteran, and it's just getting the players around him so we can get over the hump. Now, I want to thank Mike Nelson for chiming in here. He says, yes, fire Drake Mayo and bring Vrabel in. Well, maybe they should have hired Vrabel before. I don't know. But to rip it all up and start over again, have a new offensive coordinator, have a new defensive guy, have a new, coach and all that. I don't know. I think that's going to be tough because, you want to be able to take advantage of these first few years of your quarterback on that lower salary. Of course, Kraft is looking at that. So, rip it up and start over, and now Drake May's going to start from scratch. I don't know. That's even more difficult, I think.
And listen, and Vrabel, Ryan, is a New England guy, and so you couldn't find a way to maybe get him head coach and put Mayo as the defensive coordinator, or vice versa. You get Mayo and then put Vrabel as the defensive coordinator or offensive coordinator, whatever you want to do with him, because he's got a little bit more experience. But not even to have him was a little bit kind of surprising. And then, you went out and got Van Pelt. I was just saying, well, this guy is available and he's a Patriot. Why wouldn't you want him on your squad somewhere?
You should have got consideration at least. You know what I mean?
Like 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Strange.
That's the thing that drove me up the wall more than anything else. It's just like, the lack of a search, because you have to remember, like Pittsburgh back in the day when they hired Tomlin, it was like pretty much dead set that Ken Wisenhunt was going to be the head coach there. But then they brought in outside candidates. They did their due diligence. Mike Tomlin impressed them enough. It's like, oh, actually, we should probably give this guy a shot. It's actually funny. I was talking with a buddy of mine earlier today. I was thinking along these lines because obviously I don't think Gerard Mayo would take a demotion to bring Vrabel in, but not to cross sports. Part of me wants to see Robert Kraft do what Wick Grossbeck did with Brad Stevens, because he likes Mayo and he did work in business briefly at Optum, so maybe elevate him to the front office role, maybe even make him a GM. I don't know. Then bring in Vrabel as your head coach, bring Josh back. Boom, Robert Kraft has all the guys that he likes. I think that'd be funny.
Wow, the old Celtics idea.
I mean, if you're in the system and you love the guy so much, why not take care of him? And now he's out there. He's gone from Tennessee. He's looking for a place to go. And even this year, he's still out. And so, I'm not saying he's not going to make a move somewhere next year, but I think there would be a spot for him somewhere in this organization. And just really surprised that name has not been somewhere with them this year. Really.
Hey, Ryan, before we let you go, do you remember what your prediction was at the beginning of the year?
Yes, as of right now, I'm one win off. I predicted like 2-6, 2-15.
Yes, you predicted 2-15. So then, when the Patriots won that first game against Cincinnati, you thought, "Oh boy, I'm going to be way off." Right? Well, right now you're only one off if they lose the last two games. And by the way, I know Chris doesn't mind us mentioning, Chris has that $500 bet that the Patriots would win 5 games.
Have to go back to that, huh, Paul?
No, when I'm watching these games, and I'm a big Patriots fan, I'm rooting for the game, and of course, going into the game against Buffalo, right? It already looked like you're going to lose the $500. But then when they got that 14-0 lead, I'm like, oh boy, Chris Santos, he's not a Patriots fan, but he's going to be sitting on the edge of his seat for the rest of this one. If he can pull off an upset, now he has a shot. You know what I mean? Now they're going to win the last 2 games.
That's why they play.
Going to the Chargers game, so hey, maybe I reverse jinx it.
They played 2 halves, and the second half was not very good by New England. Looked like they were standing around, more than what they did in the first half. So, from them, division rival, division matchup. That's like their Super Bowl. Playing Buffalo. That's how big that game is with Josh Allen. And I knew they'd score some points because Buffalo's defense right now has not been very good. They've been giving up some points, and so I say, hey, maybe Josh will, not have a great game, and he was just good enough to get by and get the victory. So. It is what it is. And for New England, they've had their chances this year. You can go back to 3, 4, 5 games there that were possibilities that they could have won some games. They just didn't get it done. And that's what happens when you're not that good throughout your team. You find ways to lose. And unfortunately for them, they have.
Well, Ryan, we thank you very much for your interesting call as usual. Merry Christmas to you and your family, and we'll talk to you again soon.
You guys as well. Thanks for having me on again, guys.
All right, one of our favorites, Ryan from Rochester. When you're watching, the old Patriots, or even kind of the Chiefs are kind of like that now, or teams that are winners that have won before and things like that. You're watching a game. So I'm watching the old Patriots with Brady.
Wait a minute. When you say old Patriots, they've been around since 1960.
Well, I mean the recent past Patriots.
Oh, okay. How about this? How about the 2000 Patriots?
Yeah, the last 20 years of Patriots, right?
Go ahead.
So you're kind of watching the game, and maybe the Patriots are having an off day, and like some weak team is ahead, and they think they're going to beat them, and just kind of sitting on the couch going, that other team's going to blow it. The Patriots are going to, something's going to happen. The Patriots are going to win this game. And then it would happen. And then it would happen again. It would happen again. So now I'm watching this team, and it's not, obviously it's not the quarterback's fault, but I'm watching the game. They got to add 14-0, right? So my wife, she kind of sitting there, she goes, hey, look at this, 14-0. I said, right now they have about a 20% chance of winning this game, because you just have that feeling that, as it goes along and it moves along, like that better team is going to find a way to win. And the Patriots, who are not that good at the moment, they're going to kind of find a way to lose it. And you saw what happened in that third quarter. I mean, they found a way to lose that game. They really had a chance. They really should have won that damn game, really.
Yeah, so now you're on the opposite end, Paul.
I know.
And
listen, and you're enjoying every second of it.
Listen. Tell your wife that, hey, I got to get my husband out of the house because he's watching too many memories from the past.
Yeah.
Let it go and move on. You got a new regime now in the 2020s. So let's get back to trying to figure out how to win again and forget about, the old days, as you call it.
Yeah.
The old days.
Well, just wait till wild card weekend comes now. They got 3 games on Saturday and 3 games on Sunday, right? So last year I told my wife, I said, hey, it's wild card weekend. She said, how many football games are there? I said, well, I think 3 Saturday, 3 Sunday. I don't know. I think they stick one on Monday too. I don't remember. There were so many games, my head was spinning.
Well, listen, the Saturday that just passed,
yeah,
which usually doesn't happen often. There was 5 football games.
Yeah,
3 college and 2 pros. Started at noontime and ended at 11 o'clock at night.
I know. It's crazy. Hey, Kansas City Chiefs, right? So they just keep winning these close games.
Yep.
So my Patriot comrades, I don't know, they don't want to see the Chiefs win because they think it's going to be like, well, we had our dynasty and now the Chiefs are going to have their dynasty and people are going to be comparing their dynasty to our dynasty. I don't know. I just don't look at it that way. I enjoy watching the Chiefs. And the more they win, the more I kind of chuckle at my fellow Patriot fans about how they're getting irritated. And so I'm watching that game, and there's a team, right? They find a way to win the close ones. How about that last play when the kid kicked the ball off the pole for the winning field goal? And I'm watching this thing, and it wasn't even a long field goal. And I was like, the ball went in the end. You hear that clunk, and it goes through, and I'm like, oh, my God. This feels like the way the Patriots used to be. No matter what, I'm telling you, during that 20-year Ronnie Brady, I'd be sitting there, and I'm like, I know they're going to win this game. You just get like cocky about it. So I'm watching the Chiefs. I mean, you do kind of get that feeling right now. I don't know if the Chiefs have enough to win it again, because they get some weaknesses and so on and so forth. But, boy, isn't it funny how when you just keep winning and you always seem to win and you always find a way to win, it almost like there's some feeling that happens that's beyond the X's and the O's. You know what I mean? Like the belief that you're going to win, and the belief that you're going to lose. It's just such a big thing in sports, isn't it?
It's been an interesting season for them, and the reason being, they're 14-1. I believe they've won 10 games just by single-digit victory, which usually doesn't happen. So think about that. And out of those, I want to say 15 games, they've had injuries. They've had some things obviously go their way. They haven't scored more than 30 points in a game, which a lot of other teams have, besides maybe the Patriots, the Raiders, maybe the Giants. So there's like 4 or 5 teams that haven't. And Kansas City is a team that has not scored more than 30 points. So, a lot of things have gone their way. And usually happens to good teams. This one just happens to be a lot more than the normal situation during years. When you win pretty good. But for them, they've squeaked by single-digit wins. And again, not scoring more than 30 points. So I don't think they win it again. I don't see it. I think they have some flaws, and somebody will exploit it, and they will get to it. But they're good. They're just a good team.
I got to tell you, right now, it looks like Kansas City is going to get the number 1 seed. I mean, a lot can happen in the last couple of weeks, but right now it looks like they're going to get the number 1 seed. And that's big now because only one team gets the number 1 seed. Right. And you get to have that rest and everything else. But I would love to see a Buffalo Kansas City AFC Championship game because I'm looking at Buffalo, right? And I'm thinking, oh, well, Buffalo has that history of blowing it in the end and all that, right? Not really anybody's fault. Josh Allen is just playing great. I mean, I really think he's playing fantastic. I mean, he is just making plays, smart, tough to bring down, runs the ball, gets that first down, big, strong guy, makes great plays. And with the flick of the arm, he can make a play, right? But, game in Kansas City, if it gets to the AFC Championship and those are the teams, games in Kansas City, you still got Mahomes, you still got a team that knows how to win. Buffalo looks like a wagon, but you can't count out Kansas City even with their weaknesses.
I don't like Buffalo's defense right now. I've watched them for 3 weeks in a row.
You said that before this game.
They've given up 40. They've given up 40 again, and then they just gave up what they did to the Pats. So I'm not really impressed with that defense. No one's really standing out. No one's really coming up to the forefront to really take over. So I think they can be scored upon, and it's enough if Kansas City can create enough offense, to get some points. But there's a team down in Baltimore, and it's not called the Orioles. Better keep an eye on them. There's something about this team this year. I got a funny feeling because their defense from the first game till now has really risen in the right direction. So the Ravens, I think, is the team that I've selected, Paul, to advance, if you recall, in the AFC. Yes. In the AFC, keep an eye on them. They can make some noise. If Lamar doesn't turn it over, just does the smart things, I think that defense can be better than Buffalo's, and they can win some games. So keep an eye out for them.
Well, defense wins championships still, even though it's an offensive league and the rules are all in favor of the offense. Defense still wins championships. And, Buffalo, you're right. I mean, the Patriots, they went down and scored 2 times in a row the first, 2 drives. And the Patriots, as we said, they don't have the weapons. They struggle offensively. They don't have a deep roster and all that. So what's going to happen if, say they're playing Baltimore, like you said? How are they going to stop Baltimore? How are they going to stop Kansas City if Kansas City starts getting on a roll? So you got to be able to stop the other team. You can't really be winning the Super Bowl 45-42. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. The other one in that division, obviously, is Pittsburgh. That I'm not really stuck on them yet to say, that's something else. You're going to look at the next team coming into New England this week, the Chargers and what they've done on the Harbaugh. Pretty impressive. He hasn't really let the reins loose with Hebert. They got a little bit of combined running and some small passing. So, we'll see where they go. The South, I'm not seeing much from the Texans, the Colts. I'm just not seeing it. So I'm down to 3 teams. I'm down to Baltimore, KC, and Buffalo, and I'm liking Baltimore.
And I know we talked about the NFC, and, I kind of was deferential a little bit to Detroit, but I don't know. I still wonder about that head coach. 9 minutes left in the game, calls an onside kick. What the heck is he doing? You make boneheaded mistakes like that, and you're going to pay for it. I mean, we saw what happened last year when he kept going forward on 4th down. It's one thing to go forward on 4th down in the middle of a regular season against a 500 team. It's another thing to be being reckless like that against really good teams in a playoff game. Don't you think?
No, I can agree with that. And I think, there's times to be, one of those riverboat gamblers and go out there and flip the coin and say, hey, I'm going with it. I don't care what the stats say. This is what I'm doing. This is my team. I mean, I get all that, and you pump up. I don't think he's going to stop that. I think he's going to maybe calm it down because it's the playoffs. I don't think he'll be, as wild as he's been in the past in the regular season. So I think he'll be okay. But yet, when they're healthy and they're right where they want to be, I know they just lost to Washington, but I still think the Eagles get there and get the job done. And remember, Washington beat them. But remember, Hurts was out. He got injured. Kenny Pickett came in, threw a couple interceptions. They did a fumble as well. And it kind of, threw their momentum off. But I think when Hurts is there and the team is full with Barkley, A.J. Brown, good offense, and their defense can step up as well. Are they as good as Detroit? I think they can be, and that would be nice to see if Detroit's got to go to Philadelphia. That could be interesting. Look out there. But looking at, the Eagles are 12-3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the Lions are 13-2. So, home field advantage right around the corner still. But I think Detroit will hang on, and they'll have to go to Detroit and play there. But little bit more experience on Philadelphia side than there is on Detroit side.
No, I agree. And, sometimes a team, gets in that big game and loses a few times. It's harder to get over the hump the next
Sure
time.
is.
It's in your head, right? And we talked about the Celtics, right? Now that they've won that championship, I think there's a little bit of a weight off the shoulders. You know what I mean? You can't say, well, they get this talent and they get to the end, No, they've won it now. I think that it takes the pressure off a little bit. So same thing with Cincinnati, right? They're not that good this year. Joe Burrow got the Super Bowl, didn't win it. How about San Francisco? San Francisco got there a couple of times, came this close with Jimmy Garoppolo, came this close, the last time. And now it's like, with Shanahan, he gets into the big game. And then that's all you hear. That's all you hear. You know what I mean? Whether it's fair or not fair, all this has to come together for you to win a championship. It's not just a coach or just a quarterback or just whoever. So once that gets in your head, I don't know, there's some thing out there, the mental aspect of the game that's so important in these situations.
Yeah, it sure is. I have a running joke with my daughter, and I've called the Lions snake bitten. And it's kind of funny because, they haven't made too many playoffs. And when they have, it hasn't been really that successful. And so every time they come on and my daughter screams out, "Hey, Dad, the snake bitten Lions are on." And so, we laugh a lot, but I don't know if they can take that next step. They need a lot of things to happen their way. There's a lot of fans around here that some guys, Detroit fans that I know that are coming out saying, hey, this is their year. They're going to make the run, but I'm not sure. And again, the experience to me right now still favors the Philadelphia Eagles.
No, and I know you said that last time. And, after I watched them, I know they lost that game against Washington. Yeah. Hey, they got the young quarterback. He played a great game. He kind of comes through in the clutch. Yeah. I really like that kid. And so that was an upset. That was great. They're on the upswing. They're a young team that's growing. You play them in the playoffs.
Before you go on, number one, he's going to be Rookie of the Year. He solidified it with that win yesterday.
Yeah, and
no doubt about it.
Yeah, we were joking back and forth about how, he was whether he was going to be able to come back and win that game, and the hit factor and all that. He got that ball back one last time, and he still came through. But, in the playoffs, I think it's a little different. I think you're going to see Philadelphia, like you said, being much tougher to beat in the playoffs when the chips are down as opposed to, the regular season game. They're dangerous. I agree with you. I think you're right about them. And while we're looking at the phone, we have a call coming in here. It is going to be Butch. Good evening, Butch.
What's going on, gentlemen?
How are you?
Very good, sir. What are we discussing tonight? A little NFL?
Yeah, well, the question of the day was whether to fire the head coach of the Patriots.
I'm still trying to figure out who does Chris know that's a Detroit Tiger fan?
Detroit Lions
fan.
Yeah, well, listen, Derek Conceição,
yes,
big Lion fan. See his stuff. A couple other guys that I know from social media that throw it out there that are around here. And so, when they get their chance, Butch, they have to throw it out and say, this is our year, this is our year. And I expect that. But, we're more important right now of your team. You were with me yesterday. I told you this topic was going to come up. You said that you would probably call in. If you haven't watched the show from the beginning, what we talked about yesterday, I'm behind you with the Belichick situation that you're going to bring up. But at the same time, I said no to firing Mayo, and I think he'll be back next year.
Yeah, I would think it would be just a business tragedy for a major sports organization to hire a man, regardless of why they hired him or how they hired him or what their hiring process was. There could have been a lot of flaws in all of that. But to give that man just 1 year after coming behind the greatest coach of all times, I just think would be a business tragedy. Who would want to go to New England and coach? And it just goes against all of the, Patriot way and all those, accolades that they used to use and get. And I just think it would be just an unprofessional, just a terrible, tragic decision to get rid of. Now, do I think he's effective? Do I think he's the man, to bring this team back? I'm not sure about that either. No, I probably don't. But, you got to give the guy a chance. What did you expect? You and I, who watch the NFL, we're not on, some talk show making picks, $1 million picks every week. But we kind of know what we're talking about when we're picking winners and losers going against the spread. You and I were hoping that they had at least 4.5 wins.
Wow, Butch is sounding a little testy tonight here.
Well, and I agree. And
you know what I'm saying, though? What did you expect?
Yeah, and
Mayo to do with this team?
And don't forget,
I'm not talking about you, Chris. I'm talking about all these social media, sports talk, radio, the fans, the pink hat fans.
Chris is using the word tragedy. It would be a tragedy. Wow.
It's just, coming from an organization that was like, it's worth billions of dollars, and you're going to bring a man in here and chop his legs off because he doesn't win 11, 12 games and make the playoffs with the squad that he has. I just think it would be a tragedy.
And I said the same thing. He got hired at the end of March. I think it was like March 28th or 29th. And then 2 weeks later, it was the draft. And then the next thing you know, you're in spring training and you're like, okay, here comes up the season. So, that's just thrown to the wolves right away. And again, Bill gone. Now, what do I got around me? And you take a look at, I got to prepare for this draft, just like that. And again, I was using the Bill Parcells quote a little bit earlier. And, you want to cook the dinner, you got to go out and get the groceries, and hopefully he can do that this year and get more under his terms and some of the things that he really wants to get done. And I just think it's a lot thrown on his plate so fast, very difficult. Give him a year and see what happens.
By the way, just a reminder, Butch, the greatest coach of all time, well, so-called greatest coach of all time, he only won one more game than this guy's going to win.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. All new coaches, a whole new system, a new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator. I just think it's kind of a shame, It's kind of embarrassing to be a Patriots fan, and
embarrassing.
People go and no one's feeling sorry for us. The NFL hated us, right? Every fan in the country couldn't stand the Patriots and their fans based on all the success. And let's face it, you kind of get the feeling of what they felt because you watch Kansas City, they hit the upright, it goes in. They win.
Yeah. I was
they're winning games that, I'm sure that, when the Patriots won games like that, we were like, oh yeah, never a doubt. And then there's these, the opponents going, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah, I was just saying the same thing.
I thought we would be a lot more professional. I will tell you this, and I never really looked at it like this. I used to give the Kraft management or ownership a lot of credit. They were smart enough to do this and that. I got to tell you, Mr. Kraft came out and said, I might have given Bill Belichick too much authority. Goddamn good thing he did. Look at this. Good thing he did hand over the keys to him. If he's going to make these type of decisions, bringing men on that are probably not qualified or what's the word I'm looking for, didn't have the experience to take on and to be successful, just making a mess of it. I thought the way they got rid of Brady was a mess. I thought and I wouldn't have wanted to done that either. I said long ago, the day that Brady leaves, it's going to be, a tough decision. You have to make a decision, either get rid of him early or hold on to him too late,
But speaking of that, your thoughts on Bill taking the North Carolina job at this particular time. a lot of things out there. I'm doing it for my son. I'm doing it for this. I'm doing it for that, whatever it is. But, the aspirations of still being a head NFL coach has to be in the back of his mind. But yet he takes this college job. Thoughts on that?
I just think that the college game now is like the AAA of baseball. I think the folks, NIL, people are getting paid, transfer portals. There's no, they don't have contracts, so the players have a lot more freedom or a lot more power. Mm-hmm. That's one thing. I think that, Bill Belichick can see different players that do different things and prepare them maybe for the next level better than, most coaches can do. For example, Edelman came out of college as a quarterback. They made him a wide receiver. He had a couple of different folks that, he turned certain people into different position players. Some of the draft picks that he made. I think he has a lot of insight, over, someone's talent and where they could play the game and be most effective. I think that he's good for college. Now, I don't know if he wants to go to the NFL. I was surprised when he took the North Carolina job based on his age. I mean, how long does this guy want to work for?
Well, I got to tell you, I think that most NFL teams didn't want him. And you could say, well, how could you not want him? Well, look, I don't want to get into a whole Belichick debate, right?
Well, they don't want him.
But remember, he got rid of the greatest quarterback of all time. He had like one bad draft after another, and he really ran this roster into a ditch.
Yeah, but look what he's asking North Carolina.
I agree with you that he got rid of Tom Brady, but I said, I thought all along that, man, it's going to be a tough decision. It's not going to end good. Dynasties never end nicely. And this is just another, example of when it's over, it's over,
Mm-hmm. All right, let's get Chris is trying to say something over here.
Well, he went to North Carolina and he wrote like a 104-page paper and saying, this is what I want. Yeah. So you don't think he's going to do that in the NFL? Because this is what he's had. So now he goes back to these guys and say, I want this, I want this, I want this. And they're going, no, I'm not going to give you that. Age is one reason why. And of course, I'm sure there's other things. But when you're so used to getting, what you have, you don't want to give any of that up. So Carolina says, we'll give you whatever you want. So he comes up and gives them a book and says, there it is. Give me that.
You have to wonder what North Carolina was thinking. I guess they're thinking that he would be able to recruit, right? Not him personally out there talking to parents or anything like that, but just the fact that he's there, folks are going to want to go there, I would assume. I think that he'll be successful in the college game. I'm not sure. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of relationship he has with these young folks, him being the age that he's at, and then how's he going to handle this, the younger crowd? I'm not sure. It's going to be interesting. I mean, it'll be interesting, All
right, we got another caller we're going to get to. I really appreciate you calling, but I did want to mention, Butch, that I'm going to be filling in on the radio station, WBSM, tomorrow from 9 to noon, and then Thursday, 12 to 3. And, that's a much more difficult thing to navigate. So if you're around and you call in occasionally, which I enjoy and I appreciate it. It usually takes me about a minute to recognize your voice, though.
And you do recognize my voice each time. and when I have the opportunity to listen when you're on, I say, hey, it's Paul. I think I'll give him a call.
All right, Butch. Well, thank you so very much for calling this, and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays, bud.
All right, let's go to Ben in Dartmouth. Hello, Ben. Oh, let's see. Let's see. Am I doing this correctly? Apparently not. He's there. He's on hold. I have to unhold him. All right. Well, let me get back to Ben over here. I thought I had this thing down pat. There he is. He's calling in again. Hey, Ben, you're on the air.
All right, what up, Paul? Chris, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays.
Yes,
You
dude,
too, Ben.
as well.
All right, so first things first, yeah, Mayo should be gone after yesterday's atrocity.
Ooh!
Ooh.
Yeah,
Did he say atrocity? Wow.
yeah.
We got travesty. We got all kinds of words today.
Wow, we got embarrassments, we got
It was
tragedies, we got everything.
travesty, too. Such an epic, such an idiotic to epic proportion playing from the Patriots yesterday. It was
Idiotic of epic proportions.
Yeah.
All right, so tell me what it is. What it is about the coach that you think, you're saying, hey, it's all over.
I think he's just not disciplined enough. I feel like he's not a good disciplined type coach. He's not head coaching material. He's supposed to be a defensive coach. He's not showing that he's a good defensive coach. The defense is getting beat. You saw that run by James Cook. I think it was like a 67-yard touchdown that he ran yesterday, and he literally obliterated our defense. Another play, Josh Allen in the second half was like crapping on us. Like our defense couldn't even hold him.
Well, let me ask Chris a question. Do you think Mayo should be more heavily involved in the defense because that was his area of expertise?
Well, you would think so. Then that's his forte and the strong point. He did. I'm trying to think of the number. I think it was number 41. Made him be a shadow of Josh Allen. So if he took off, that guy would be the one that would follow him around. And I thought the guy did a pretty good job in the first half. In the second half, I just think better adjustments were made by Buffalo than New England. And obviously they come back and take off and win the game. So, but again, a lot on the plate with what he has in front of him, Ben. There's not a lot of talent on this team right now, besides maybe the quarterback, maybe one tight end, and maybe half of a running back. Because the rest right now is not showing up to much of this offense.
Well, you got to give credit to Christian Gonzalez. I feel like he's been a great player all season long.
Yep.
People really look at the Patriots and look at the record and see how bad, but like he's just him, May, and Henry are like my top three players that have been a standout throughout the season, and they haven't disappointed me since day one. So.
Yeah, some of the decisions, though, that the coaches have made, there have been a number of games that they could have won and should have won. And Chris has said, and I have said too, it's one thing to fire him. We don't think he should be fired. But, there are a number of games there where you look at some of the decisions like, oh, what the heck is he doing here? And I think you really want to give Mayo a little bit more power. Suppose they give him more power next year. And they say, okay, you're going to be in control. You want to run a play. You want the offensive coordinator to do something, you tell him. In the draft, we're going to let you pick some of these players. You know what I mean? Like, don't you think he could be better if he was given the opportunity to call the shots a little bit more?
I can kind of see it, but at the same time, looking at this offensive coordinator, I don't think Alex Van Pelt's a good offensive coordinator as well because he makes some questionable play calls. I feel like that you saw that throughout the season, like when Jacoby Brissett was under quarterback, he made some questionable calls.
I hope Butch is still listening. Well, Butch took the opposite approach. But, hey, Ben, I want to try to sneak one more caller in. We really appreciate your perspective. Merry Christmas, and I'll be looking forward to running into you during the Dartmouth High School season.
All right. Happy New Year, guys. Merry Christmas. Have a good holiday.
You too, buddy. Go slow.
Okay, let's try to get this right over here. Hello. Nelson, are you there? Let me try this. Oh, boy. I'm having a little trouble with my system over here. I don't know why this isn't working.
Well, if it's Nelson from Fall River, we'll make sure we stay on just a little bit more. We can get him in.
All right. Yeah, he was trying to call in this phone swap
Well,
system.
Ben's telling us to clean the house, Paul. He's just telling
clean house.
Let Van Pelt go. Let Mayo go. He wants everybody out. Just clean house.
All right, Nelson from Fall River. Good evening.
Greetings. 'Tis the season for the Patriots who are about to be eliminated. Santa has come early. That's the gift for all you Patriots fans.
Let me see.
Right now, they're battling with the Giants to see who gets the first pick.
Hey, I hate to tell you this, Chris.
And the Jets maybe get in the top 5.
I got to tell you something, Chris. I'm looking back at the predictions. Nelson from Fall River, 3-14 was his
Yep.
prediction.
He had,
So if
he
the
had-
There you go,
Patriots,
baby.
hey, the Patriots still have a chance to pull off an upset.
There you go. There you go. I knew it. I had the crystal ball. It told me.
All
Hey,
right, okay, hey, Nelson, what's Paul getting for Christmas? What's that crystal ball say?
Let's see. For Paul, I don't know. Maybe a bag of coal.
Oh, hey, listen, he's
For
excited.
being a Patriots fan,
He got Walker Bueller today. He's excited. He got Walker Bueller today.
hey, Nelson.
Yes.
What about
Yes.
the question of the day? Do you think that the head coach Gerard Mayo should be fired?
This is going to surprise a lot of people, but I'm going to say no.
Okay, all right.
Simply put, it's his first year. You know, he wanted to see what he was working with. But now that he's had almost a full season, you know, depending if they make any moves, trades, but if we're left with the same team, we're going to see if they produce next year. But, you know, for the first year, no, I wouldn't fire
All right,
him.
so Nelson agrees with us, Chris.
Paul, you know what I thought he was going to say? I thought he was going to say, no, they shouldn't, because they suck, and it's because of him. And I want him to stay, and so they can still suck for the rest of for the years that he's there.
Yeah, well, look at the New York Giants and the New York Jets. He has twice as much of a chance for one of those teams to be good, and they both suck.
You know, and what's even more interesting is that yesterday I had people calling my phone thinking that the Patriots were going to beat the Buffalo Bills.
When it was
I said,
14-0.
I said, what planet are you living on?
Even when it was 14-0, you knew they were going to lose.
Exactly. My crystal ball said, guys, I said, look, just wait. They're going to lose. You're putting too much expectations on them. And guess what? No calls after the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Well, yeah, 3-14 predictions looking pretty good right now. But, you know, there's an old saying, that's why they play the games. You know, the Chargers could have an off day, right? Maybe the last game of the season, the Buffalo's resting their players, you know.
Yeah.
You never know what can happen the last couple of games.
Yes. And look, we witnessed Mahomes.
Yeah.
Again, you know, I just don't think he's human at this point. I don't think he's human. He has to be an alien human hybrid or something.
He's like what Brady used to be. I'm watching those games, and I know Kansas City's going to win the damn game, you know?
That's what's scary is that he's showing, you know, I'm pretty sure Brady played hurt. You never knew about it. And this guy is just, I mean, look, he won the Super Bowl with one leg. So, you know, I just hope they rest him for the playoffs. I mean, you're in there. You have a great record. Don't get too greedy. Home field advantage is nothing if that man is not healthy. And it's down to a big contract, so they have to think about everything. You know?
Let's get Chris's thoughts.
Listen, I was getting calls yesterday. The Giants scored. They were up 7-0. I said, please don't call me again because Atlanta will come back and win by 30. And Atlanta with Michael Penix Jr. came back and they scored like 30 unanswered. I go, there we go. Giants are playing for the first draft pick. So I'm sure Nelson's happy with that. And he can have his number one. And then same thing with the Jets. Everyone's all pumped up. They beat Jacksonville. The Jets are back. The Jets are great. They beat Jacksonville. Okay, yep, they come home. They can't do anything. Rodgers can't throw from me to you. And the next thing you know, they're in the cellar just as well. So it's not been a good New England year. It hasn't been a good New York year. It's just been tough all around. So
hold up, my friend. Brian Cashman is serving up something really good in the kitchen.
Ooh.
I'm talking steak,
what's he stirring?
whatever. The Red Sox, I mean, they got a few moves. It's nothing compared to what Brian Cashman has been doing. Yes, I was upset, but he's keeping me happy.
So now you're a Cody Bellinger fan.
What I'm saying is the Mets, they might own Soto, but the Yankees, they own New York.
They own New York.
All right.
Well,
as long as they give their opponents 6 outs in the World Series, they're going nowhere.
Well, look, man, I still to this day I will say before I get off, I just want to say if they were able to win game one, that series was going at least 6 or 7 games. Period.
Hey, the kid got like $1 million for the ball. Did you hear about that?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, Christmas came early for him.
Good for him and his
But here's the
family.
thing. I want to get your opinion on something. So the pitcher the Red Sox received. So, okay, you got the last out of the World Series for the Dodgers, and you choose to go play in Fenway Park? What the hell is that? What the hell is that? You play in New York. You play in better places than Fenway Park.
All right, Nelson.
When he talks.
All right, Nelson. Well, thank you for
All right,
calling.
Nelson.
We don't usually go over 5 minutes, but for
No,
you,
we did.
we
Just for
added
you.
on a little, like they do in soccer, the extra time, we put on the
I
extra
appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank you. I hope you guys have a great Christmas.
Yeah, you
as well.
too. Looking forward to
Happy
talking
holidays.
to you again. All right,
Have a good
Nelson.
one.
Nelson from Fall River. Yeah, we gave him the extra 5 minutes. I'm looking at Butch. Butch was listening when Ben came on and said that the head coach was a failure of epic proportions. And Butch came back and said, "You get rid of this coach. That's going to be a travesty. A travesty of justice." Wow. We're throwing some big words around today.
He's coming up big. He must be listening to a lot of your shows on Saturday where he's getting some more information and using some of that lingo. During that time, I'm assuming that's what it is. So you might get some more calls from him in the future. But that being said, Paul, obviously to everyone out there, a happy holiday from Santos on Sports. Obviously, Christmas, New Year coming up. Paul, to you and your family, saw a great picture of your 2 boys and your grandkid. Wonderful picture on social media. That was nice to see as well. So a lot going on. Good, fun time for you right now, especially for that little guy opening some presents up.
Oh, yeah, we're having a wonderful time.
That's
We're so
good.
blessed. Thank you very much. Merry Christmas to you. Happy New Year. Happy Hanukkah to other folks out there that are watching, and happy holidays in general. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you to our callers, and we'll see what happens. Chris, don't the Patriots have to win the last 2 games.
Not happening.
Hey, look, that next game against the Chargers. Suppose they upset the Chargers, right?
I've already threw that money
Now
away.
it comes down to one last game against Buffalo. They're not going to play anybody.
Well, listen, if they beat the Chargers, I might drive to Buffalo myself and look for Josh Allen. I might be a Bills Mafia fan and jump off like one of the cars on the top rope and land on Josh Allen.
All right. Well, again, Merry Christmas, everybody, to you and your family. And we'll talk to you again very soon. Santos on Sports. Have a great night.